Whoa, what's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? I just hopped off the podcast with me and my homie Jazz. Man, if y'all haven't tapped into that episode, it's definitely, something I feel like you guys would want to see. We chopped it up and we talked about, the dreams. And, like I said before, yesterday, I said I was going to actually bring him on board what we were talking about, which was about the prophetic dream. So if you want to hear Jazz, story, um, definitely tap into the most recent episode 31, and it's going to be titled Tacos. But this episode today is dedicated to my dear friend uh, Tay Black. Black Tay goes both ways. His name was Tavon. Um, I'm gonna say when I graduated from high school, as y'all already know, or if you haven't tapped into the Yeah Man Yeah podcast, which is now the Jazz and Keys podcast, I talked about how Jazz, me meeting him, you know, when we first connected, which was when we were in high school, and how, seeing Jazz wear these baseball patch jeans that this is before the monograms, this is before the logos had came out. I initially seen it on Jazz of him wearing the baseball logos that he had got from Joanne's Fabric, and the baseball logos was on the baseballs. So then I had took the initiative in my own hands, and I had like these basketball sheets with all the NBA logos that I wanted made. So it was a guy that was in school that was doing them. Shout out to BJ. He did my jeans. I didn't approve of the jeans. I didn't like them because it could have had more. It could have been more teams on there. So I decided to put more teams on it and on my jeans. And because Jazz was like, "Yo, why don't you do it yourself?" Took Jazz advice, and that right then and there started my creative journey. So after 2 years after that, after I graduated, me and my friend Tavon, we've had grew a friendship. We continue to stay connected, and eventually I started making more things, and that's what birthed my other line called Ages. Ages was a line that I've had before the feds had raided my house in 2004, and they took my computer. And when they took my computer and I couldn't operate on that computer no longer, I then created another line called Ricochet. But Ricochet was only, it started in Baltimore, but then I traveled with Ricochet to Phoenix, to Spokane, Washington, and brought it back to Baltimore in late 2007, 2008. But within those years, this guy, Tavon, aka Black, man, he was mad talented. And I remember when we were in high school, and then when we graduated, we would always be on these missions, man. Like Tavon, he just had so much energy. It was incidences where, Tay and I, he would always take up for me. You know what I mean? He would, and then when we started collaborating together, making shirts, I would make like these, it was a stay called Airwear, and I would take the images of like these celebrities that this guy would spray paint on T-shirts, and I would put them all together. And that's when rhinestones was popping. So I would put the rhinestones on the shirts, and he would help me. Tay would help me put the rhinestones on the shirts. And I remember we had made like several shirts, right? And when we made all these shirts, we kept on getting them at Howard Street that was selling wholesale T-shirts at the time. And I remember one time we had made all these shirts up, and he wanted the Glocks on his shirts. Yeah, Tay was wild. You know what I'm saying? He lived that life for real. And uh, I didn't think that the Glock shirts was gonna sell. It was a brand called Armed at the time, and Armed had all these Glocks on the shirt. So he took that and he said, "Yo, we're gonna create our own." So here it is. We had like these dope shirts, Bob Marley, the Airwear shirts that had the collage of different other artists. Those, and I remember we went to H&W Salon in Baltimore, and we made about $800 to $900 in one day. Then we brought on, shout out to Brandon, we brought on YBE. Brandon went to Northern as well. And, I taught Brandon a little bit of how to make his images a little bit more crisp because his images had like, it was a little, it could have been better. And I showed him how to use, the right paper and the right methods. So, maybe about not too far after that, we all went our separate ways, but Tay, he stuck by me and, we decided to go on other ventures. We went to Blockbuster. We would go to Blockbuster and we would hit up, all these fabric stores. And even prior to me collaborated with Brandon, I would teach them how I would get my materials. And as I said in other episodes before, I would take all my stuff. You get what I'm saying? So I would show them how to actually, put in perspective, um, you know, um, ways where you can maximize your profit by taking. You know what I mean? It was crazy, man. So we would go to places like Office Depot. We would go to different other spots, hit him up. Tay would take his people's car, and I don't even know if Tay even had a license around that time. We were young, and but that didn't change from us going to the other ventures of going to Blockbuster Video. Speaking of my age here, we would go to Blockbuster, we would go to West Coast Video. We would hit up all the rental video places and take screwdrivers with us. And we would pop the sensor off of the actual case, take video games, take movies, DVDs was the thing at the time. It wasn't Blu-rays then. And Tay would go to his spot, I would go to my spot, and we would sell them. You get what I'm saying? And the things that we didn't sell, we would actually allow, you know, uh, the what do you call it? Because at the time, GameStop, they would allow you to, if you didn't have the case, it would be $5 off. And these were new games; they were just used. So we would either sell them, you know what I mean, or trade them in. And I remember one time, me and him, we was, playing the game, and yeah, this is when my mother comes in, right? We were playing a game in my room, and for me working at Target, and for those who know about the Target stories and me doing that, you could tell that I had everything. So I remember my mother got off of work one time, and she was like, "Keo." So then Tay was like, "Oh shit." So Tay was like, "I'm dipping, yo. Fuck that, yo. Your mother, I'm dipping." So he goes and we go downstairs, and my mother was looking at him too. He's like, all right, mama. All right, Miss Gloria. And then he leaves or whatever, right? So then my mother was like, Keo, did you do anything at Blockbuster? I said, no, mom, what you talking about? I didn't do nothing at Blockbuster. I'm gonna ask you this again. Did you do anything at Blockbuster? I said, Ma, what are you talking about? She said, look, they brought me in the back of the room, Keo. They showed me you and Tavon on camera taking all this stuff. They was about to press charges on you to have you arrested, but they said because I'm a loyal customer, because my mother loved every Friday, she loved going to Blockbuster, getting a movie, and giving it for me. Because at the time I was the only child that was still there before the feds raided our house, and took the computer but my mother, she lived for the Fridays of actually buying a new movie and just being able. Some movies she didn't even watch. She just liked to collect the DVDs, and she was embarrassed when she walked in Blockbuster for the guy to bring her to the back because they started noticing that sales started declining and they didn't have any inventory. And they said, "Hey, this is your son, right? Just tell him we're not going to press any charges, but tell him that he can't come in here no more." And my mother was so embarrassed that she didn't feel comfortable going in there neither. Why would you? Because your son and his friend wiped out all our stock. So then my mother would go to West Coast Video because she wasn't that cool with them, you know. But that then now I look back at it, that really sucked. You get what I'm saying? So, but she still ain't not like Tay for that. You get what I'm saying? She still treated Tay like he was her son. So the stories with Tavon, man, shout out to Black man, rest in peace. I remember it was incidences where this man would just be like doing everything under the sun. He got caught with it because his peoples had like multiple cars. I remember one time the car had flipped over, the Lincoln's classic town car that his father had flipped over. He hopped out the car, and like I said, this is a guy that has so much energy. I mean, he would dome two blunts and still have so much energy. Him and I used to walk places. He's like, "Yo, I bet you can't catch me," and I would be walking behind him like, "Dog, like where you get all this energy from?" So anyway, I remember one time he was in a high speed chase, and the car crashed, and the car flipped over. He hops out the car and still got away, and it was out still to tell the story. Only reason why I got caught because the car was in his people's name. But it's so many stories to name a few. But fast forward to, like I said in the previous podcast, in the previous episode and on the podcast we just recently shot. When I seen him, it was me catching up with him. he was on social media for a while. He called himself Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Because he loved Harlem. You know what I mean? We were always quote like me and Jazz. He reminded me of my cousin Jazz. You know what I mean? We were always quote paid in full. You know what I mean? Good guy. I remember I went to Phoenix and I would come back because I went to Phoenix because of Jazz coming back to Baltimore. When I came back from Phoenix at one point, I was filming Tay, and I made a corner shirt, and this before I knew DeAndre, and that's why, we talk about how sometimes the T-shirts was like a manifestation tool because every T-shirt that I made, I wound up either meeting the person or meeting somebody along the lines of the T-shirt. But I would sell corner shirts, and on the back I had to be more careful book, and I wound up meeting Shannon Holmes as well. You know what I mean? So it's wild. You know what I mean? So anyway, I remember making him the shirt, and gave him the shirt for him to freestyle on camera. And I'm gonna try to retrieve some of the footage that I've shot on my Hot 8 tapes to make them digital, so that way I can bring all these old stories and allow them to live here on YouTube, just to preserve the content that I've accumulated over the years. It's archived now. But he was freestyling, and man, he was one of the dopest artists, man. Like he really can rap. I mean, he can create a whole rhyme, and I mean, I'm talking about not whack. I'm talking about really, really good, right? He said a freestyle, and after I stopped recording him, we was walking towards the main street, and he was like, "Man, you left me, man." I said, "What you talking about, dog?" He said, "I just felt like you left me." I said, "Yo," he said, "Man, you went to Phoenix. You ain't even tell me to come out there. You know what I mean? You left me, dog. You left me high and dry, man. You know what I'm saying?" And I was like, "Yo, I ain't leave you, dog. Like, you knew I had a warrant. You knew I had to get out of Dodge. You know what I'm saying?" He said, "But man, you supposed to take me with you." I said, "Dog, I ain't even have a pot to piss at, to be honest with you, dog. I was out there homeless, dog. You ain't want to do nothing like that." He said, "Man, we could have made it happen. You wouldn't have been homeless on my watch." I said, "Nah, dog, you don't understand, man. You know, out there it's different. You got to have a vehicle." I went out there on my own, me and my homie Jazz, before we found out we were cousins. I said, "We were just trying to make a way, dog." I said, "We was trying to make a way for others to make a way. We was bringing people on, but I wouldn't want you out there, dog, in those circumstances, man. You know what I'm saying? Trust me." So, and I traveled right after that because I still had my warrant when I filmed him, and he did that freestyle, but I was laying low in Spokane, Washington. Um, but yeah, if you guys want to check out, what I've talked about in the previous episode of the 4 a.m. sessions, you all know that, how I had dripped the bottom, and, moments after, the person who I was dating, I said this in the previous podcast. Um, yeah, when I found out he passed away, I went to the wake. Not the wake, the viewing, because I couldn't, I couldn't go to the funeral because at the time I was working at Hawkins and they was not letting me off. So, yeah, I went to the viewing, and I remember seeing him wearing a shirt, and I just felt his spirit saying, like, "Look at me, man. Like, could have made me a shirt instead of the third, man." But Tavon was a beautiful spirit, man. And what I wanted to say to you, because I was thinking about something else, but when moments after that, I think it was like not too far after I had the person who I dated car to go to the room, because that's before I had my own car. Um, it was this guy who he was on a box, and I remember I was hesitant on making stuff for Dave Chappelle the third time around, no, the second time around, and it was the same. It was like maybe a day or two after I went to Tavon's funeral. I got in the car and I told the guy, I was like, "Yeah, I was just kicking it with Donnell, and I'm thinking about making Dave a pair of sneakers." And the guy, he was like, "Yo, you making him a pair of sneakers? Yo, you just let me know, and I got you, dog. Like, say less." And I was like, "All right, yeah," because I was at that time, I was behind on my rent. Things wasn't happening, and I needed some help. And I don't know how I even said that, but he's like, "Yo, you making them?" And the only reason why I stopped making shoes at that time because I wanted to elevate my game. I wanted to add more so mixed media to my pieces. And I would have never thought that by me starting to make shoes again, or experimenting with that medium, that the very first person would be Dave Chappelle. You know what I mean? The second time, because the first time he got the half baked shoes in 2015. The second time he got the Equanimity shoes, and the third time was in 2021 when he got the Blazers. But the second time when I, met up with the homie, and I got the sneakers from y'all, and I made them. I was like, it was wild because I'm glad I pushed through. But I was thinking about Tay, and I was like, Dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the things that he's seen while he was here is continued to elevate and continue to evolve. And he always had like the creativity that, if you hear me in jazz, how we talk, he always had that. He was always before his time, but it was always, other things in life that was pulling him in many directions, as it was doing that to me as well. I'm no different from Tay, right? But it was in me moving to Phoenix or me moving to Spokane to train myself to start to figure out what ways I can. Sometimes you can be with the homies. Sometimes you gotta isolate. Sometimes you gotta isolate yourself to create the dream, And if you don't isolate yourself, or if you don't necessarily travel to broaden your scope, it's a repeated pattern, a repeated thinking of others that yeah, in Baltimore is, as we all know. So it's easy to go into that, you know what I mean? The life, you know what I mean? Because he was killed, you know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, rest in peace to Black Tay. This ain't go as what I thought it would go. As so many other stories, but I'm making sure that some stories I don't really share because this is YouTube. I don't want to dishonor my homie name, but he was a soldier. You know what I'm saying? And this is dedicated to Black Tay. Uh, Salute to him, and he was a part of my journey in the beginning as well, with me creating and me making art and amongst other things. He was also there when I was making those PA tags and NBA fake stickers, and he thought I was crazy for that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Yo, you should be making clothes. Yo, why are you making that?" He was against that, and I didn't even really even tell him I was doing that. He ain't want no parts of that. He was always, pushing me in the right direction. And, I wish that, I probably would have been able to be more hands on with doing that for him. Sometimes I go back and I think about Tim, like, yo, Dad, did I let him down? Could I have done something, you know, to like how I've been doing? But I try not to hold on to that. But those thoughts eventually do come in my mind, as a lot of individuals, Beezy, rest in peace to Beezy. There's a lot of individuals that I think about that I'm like, Dad, if they were given a chance, but God giving them grace, you know what I'm saying? As He's given me, rest in peace to Glenn. Um, you know. So yeah, but anyway, I say all that to say, you know what I mean? Just love on your people, you know what I'm saying? And appreciate these times that you have with these beautiful spirits while they're in your presence, you know what I mean? Because you just never know. All right, so that concludes today's um, video session. Sorry, I didn't realize it was 18 minutes. My apologies. Um, but yeah, yeah. Anyway, salute to y'all. Thank y'all. Much love. And I also still have that Harriet Tubman joint. All the prints are available on my site, buyakioevans.com. Um, but definitely, if you want to, definitely get a print, you know what I'm saying, or anything like that nature, feel free to get it on the site. But if you want to actually, you know, every time I talk about Tay, I get a little, But if y'all wanna get, I mean, what's the name? Then yeah, just tap into the Instagram and yeah, to be there. All right. So anyway, love y'all. Peace, and tell somebody you love them today. All right. Peace.